Hello, dreamers! Let's talk about my greatest struggle as a psychic. Goodness gracious. Okay, well, I've been doing this psychic thing for a while now. I've been doing it professionally as my full-time job for 3 years now, and you might think, as a psychic, the greatest struggle is actually using the abilities, seeing the visions, or hearing the thoughts of other people, and that's really not it. When you're a psychic, you're psychic with everybody, right? Even if they didn't pay you for a reading, right? So it hits me most with friends and family, where I know really far in advance what is destined for them, and then so the knowing becomes the burden because I know, but a lot of times there's nothing I can do to stop the train wreck, or a lot of times I know that everything's going to be fine in the end, and I know that things are going to turn out positively in the end, but I know it's going to be like really far into the future or something, and it's so hard to watch loved ones or close clients struggle through the interim. Like, I know how things are going to turn out, but that doesn't mean that I don't experience like ups and downs with the person in the interim. So it's actually kind of hard. I don't know if I should tell this story, but I'm going to tell it. I'm going to tell it. I'll just try to be nondescript. When I was very young, less than 10 years old, trying to be nondescript. When I was very young, less than 10 years old, I saw one of my parental figures standing with somebody somewhere in my school. And as soon as I saw that, I knew with my psychic abilities that they were eventually going to be married, this parental figure and this other person, and that they were in love, okay? And I had a hard time containing that knowingness within my young beingness, okay? And even though I knew that this parental figure was married to a different parental figure, okay, at that time, I still knew in that moment, as soon as I saw it, because that's how my psychic abilities work. Like, I see certain things and then it just triggers visions, and the visions are so real that I know that they're real and I just cannot get them out of me. And anyway, so I was with that parental figure a little bit later, and I said, because I didn't know any better at the time, because I was less than 10, I said to the parental figure, I know you love that person. And that was not good, okay? It did not turn out good. And that parental figure basically threatened my life and said, don't you ever say that ever again. You are wrong, okay? Don't you ever say that ever again. If I hear you ever say anything like that ever again, X, Y, and Z will happen to you, okay? That was my introduction to the world of psychicness. Well, okay. So, let me do the specific math. Okay, hold on. Okay. 9 years later, said parental figure did marry the person that I saw said parental figure speaking to in the school that day. Okay, so an entire decade passed, basically. In that decade, I watched a train wreck unfold. I watched a couple years of denial, lies, secrets. I experienced and watched a couple years of destruction, pain, heartbreak. I lived through that. And also the incredible agony of being told, you are wrong, and if you say anything like this again, the XYZ will happen to you. That sucks. as a psychic. Those moments really suck when you feel pretty strongly that you're right, but the other person is either so insistent on hiding the thing that you pointed out, or they are just not aware of it because you're seeing so far into the future and they freak out on you. Like, that is very hard. Well, I lived through a while of thinking, oh my gosh, what if I really was wrong? The space between like what's now and then the vision is difficult. You're psychic, but you're still a human being. And yeah, so that's one circumstance that, you know, with my parental figure that kind of demonstrates this same phenomenon. It's also happened with other close friends and siblings. And it usually has to do with relationships because that's where my abilities are the strongest as a psychic. Just knowing who their person is, just because you know who somebody's person is or their beloved is, and you know that they'll be together, those visions energize me. And I know, like, when I have a full surround sound vision, I know it's real. I know it's real. All I have is what I have, you know? So it's like I see it and I see it. I know it's real. I see it. I hear it. I'm there. I know it's real. But like most of the time I don't know when it's going to happen or things like that. And that's such a struggle as a psychic. But it's weird. Like, I can't imagine what my life would be like if I didn't know these things, because that's never been real for me. I've always known these things, but it's hard to know. It's really hard to know sometimes. I know that might be like weird for somebody who isn't psychic, but it's really hard to know and not be able to do anything to help a person. Because you like know for sure that something's going to turn out a certain way, and you can see it and you can hear it and you know that it's there. And in my case, like, it does turn out that way, but in the interim, you know, the person might be like, you know, that you are tapped into, they might be going through whatever, or they, you know, sometimes you know things and you know what's going to happen to a person, but that person has free will and they choose to walk down the path that's going to destroy them anyway, or to do something that's going to hurt them anyway, and you know it's going to hurt them, and you've already told them once, like, this is not going to turn out good, this is going to be a train wreck, or this is going to hurt you, and then you watch them get hurt. Like, there's a feeling of personal responsibility, even though, like, logically I know that you know, people's free will choices are their own choices, and that I'm just a messenger and stuff like that. When it comes to close relationships, it's the knowing is, and I want to say I appreciate my psychic abilities and I would never trade them for the world, and I would not even want to be here on this planet without them. So thank you, angels. Okay, but sometimes knowing is a burden because, for many reasons, sometimes knowing is a burden because I maybe sometimes feel like I don't, like maybe I know something and I didn't communicate it well enough, or I didn't communicate it at all. That happens a lot in my really close relationships. Like, with my husband, like, oh, it's just constant. It's just constant. Like, he struggles a lot to find the right words for things. He has Chiron and Gemini. And so, like, I'll just know all these things. Like, I'll know, okay, just all kinds of things I shouldn't know, okay? Like, I know, okay, he's gonna go to work today, his boss is gonna say this thing to him, he's going to reply in this particular way, he's gonna say these words, it's gonna be misconstrued by the boss, and it's gonna start an argument, or whatever, or he's not gonna get the promotion, or, like, I know stuff like that. Like, I know all sorts of things, all sorts of details that I, like, shouldn't know, and I feel... And then, like, I'll think, like, this is my internal dialogue. I swear, like, if people could hear it, like, they would be very entertained. But my internal dialogue then is like, and that's a specific real life circumstance that I just shared that happened last week, okay? Oh my gosh. So, my internal dialogue was like, Maya, this thing is here, like, this conversation is gonna happen. And then my internal dialogue was like, should we tell him? Like, you know, do you think, like, will it be a good idea to tell him? Okay, if I tell him, he's going to feel like I'm trying to control him. If I tell him, he's going to feel like I don't trust him. If I tell him, he's going to be like, WTF, Maya, that's not going to happen. Okay, what are you talking about? Okay, and if I tell him, then he's going to feel less confident in himself because he's going to think that I don't trust him to communicate in a certain circumstance, right? So in that case, I didn't tell him about what I what I thought was going to happen. And then there's also like the voice of like, what if I just made this up and it's my imagination, you know? Well, and then that's just stupid. Like, I should just keep my mouth shut and not say anything. And anyway, like in that circumstance, things like that are so numerous, so as to happen dozens of times every single day. With people that are really close to me, I always know like what, especially like their relationships with others. I'm telling you, this is where my psychic abilities are strong. And that means all relationships, like not just like romantic, but like family and stuff, like always knowing like, and sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I do like somehow turn off the switch and I don't know, but like I know a lot, okay? And just knowing, like, this person's going to say this to this person that's my loved one. They're going to respond like this, and it's going to turn out like this, and, like, I got to stop it. Like, okay. And I know that probably I'm not supposed to stop it, but it's weird, because it's like, why would I have this information, or why would I know if I'm not supposed to do anything with it? That's still an unanswered question for me. But anyway, so yeah, so that just happens all the time. So the knowing is amazing. I'm glad for the knowing, and I'm glad I can use it in service of others. But the knowing can sometimes be a big burden to carry, especially when I see a lot of things that are very far in the future. I didn't really realize that until recently. But, you know, like as a little girl, seeing that vision of the marriage and stuff, you know, it was going to be 10 years before that was going to come into fruition. That's a long time when you're a little kid. That's a long time. You know, that feels like a really long time. And it can be a burden to carry, knowing interpersonal things like that, or knowing that a marriage from a loved one isn't going to work out. Or a job, or that somebody's going to probably get hurt, or like stuff. It can be a lot to carry. And sometimes there's nothing you can do to stop a person from getting hurt, even if you do tell them. And sometimes it's not your place to tell them. Sometimes I pick up on things like for people like at the grocery store and stuff like that, you know, or just in public. And I mean, at least at this time on my path, I don't say anything. It's not my place, I feel. But maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. But it's like to know, you know, maybe I know the person standing behind me is being abused or something, and that, you know, they're sacrificing themselves for their relationship where they're being abused because they're scared, but that person's going to leave them anyway in about a year and a half. It's like, okay, first of all, like, maybe it's not my place to communicate that, but let's just say that I did, okay? And so before I even communicate it, I will also be able to psychically pick up on how the person's going to reply, and then I know that that person's going to cry, and then they're going to embarrass themselves, you know, in front of their friend, and then I also know on top of that, that they, you know, are not going to change their behavior anyway, and it's still going to turn out the same way. Or, you know, I know that this gets complicated, you guys. Like, I know that they'll tell me that I'm wrong, or that I'm not picking up on something that's real, but at the same time, I'll be able to hear their thoughts that are like, who is this little girl talking to me? Like, and how does she know this about my life? Okay? Because a lot of people, you know what, like, telepathy is complicated, okay? Well, it's basic, but like, experiencing it is complicated, because when you can hear what somebody says to you, you can also hear what they're thinking at the same time. It's like really disorienting. It's like, because it's so often different. Anyway, so that's a real circumstance too that I just shared with you. And anyway, it's like, it's just strange. So I don't know if I've articulated this well, but I don't know. I thought you guys might be curious about what I struggle with as a psychic, or some of the things that are just unanswered questions for me right now, or things that I struggle with. And I have my own personal lessons in this lifetime that are very profound. And my big lesson in this lifetime is about faith and having faith. And I think that's why the angels will always show me visions of things that are like super far in the future, and make me have faith that those things are going to happen. Oh, but then also have to ride up a lot of ups and downs, even with my own self. Like, I know that in the future, like, I will have written books, and I have visions, like, of myself talking to groups of people and teaching, and stuff, and they're so real, it's like ridiculous. Sometimes though, I'll do a reading or something and I'm having like an off day and the person's like, yeah, like, oh, I don't know, this didn't resonate very much or something. And in that moment, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's never going to happen. My vision is never going to happen. Like, oh, like I'm failing, like I'm digressing in my abilities or something. And so even with my own self, it's like, it's a struggle, like sometimes, but yeah. I don't know. I feel like I've said enough. I feel like I've said way too much. And hopefully, like, certain people don't discover this certain video, okay? But yeah. That's what I struggle with as a psychic. It's an interesting way of being in the world. I love being this way, and I'm grateful for it, but it's a very interesting way of being, okay? And there's a lot of things that people don't really think about. I think that people will get creeped out by psychics or something, especially if you have them in your life personally, because it's like, well, do they know what I'm thinking? Do they know what's going on with me? And the answer may be yes, they do know, but it may not be that they want to know, okay? Or that they know what to do with that knowing. And let me just tell you, psychics pick up on everything. They're not judging you, because psychics pick up on everything for everyone. So it's like nothing's really gonna surprise a psychic. They know they've seen the thoughts of everybody or whatever. They know what people are thinking and stuff like that. It's more so, the struggle is more so what to do with the knowing. And how to manage in the interim, because it's wonderful to know that something great is going to happen for somebody in 10 years or 5 years, but it can be a struggle to watch them suffer, in the short term, knowing that what they really want might not occur for a long time. So yeah. Okay. God bless you. Thank you for watching. Please come back to the Maya's Dream channel whenever you want to experience this type of energy. Okay? Okay? Blessings to you, and namaste. Bye.